Hello and welcome to the Grill Nation Show. I'm your host, Jason Grill. I appreciate you listening today on KMBZ 980 AM, or if you're joining us on podcast networks, we appreciate it. Or if you are watching us on live stream right now on my social media, thank you for joining us. Or if you're watching this on YouTube on the broadcast, we appreciate that as well. I'm your host, Jason Grill. Our website is grillnationshow.com, and today we are going to have a fascinating show. I'm very excited to have back Jonathan Cole, who's the owner of Pendulum in Kansas City. They are a multidisciplinary architecture firm here locally. They do all different types of projects. They collaborate. They work to ensure sustainability of communities. They're involved in everything. And we're going to be bringing on a guest with Jonathan after our first segment. His name is Jonathan. Actually, I'm going to have you introduce our guest for today because I'm excited about it. WyCo Vintage.
WyCo Vintage, Patrick, Klima, one of my favorite people in Kansas City. I think it's going to be an amazing show. Glad to have him here with us.
Yeah, he's going to be out joining us after the break. So, Jonathan, what's new with you? What's new with Pendulum? Kind of talk to us about kind of Pendulum again and kind of some of the projects you've been working on. I've been reading more about kind of what's going on in the Truce project, but also what's happening with kind of some of your sports-related projects in town and across the country.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. We've been busy. Our Fuse ballpark in Gastonia, North Carolina officially opened with a ribbon cutting on April 15th. And so now we're in eager anticipation of the first home game, which is scheduled for May 27th. So we're excited about that. We've launched our Pendulum custom label, which is where we use our design expertise to kind of customize clothing and sneakers. And we've had a few amazing collaborations, and maybe you've seen the video that we did of the custom dunks we did for our client there in Gastonia. So that was super cool. Truce Village.
What those are exactly? What are custom dunks?
So it's the Nike Dunk. It's a high top dunk shoe that we basically customized to be brand specific for our client there. Their brand is the Honey Hunters. So they're yellow and black, which is super cool. And then we took their logos and their labels and their brand marks and we added them to the actual shoe itself. I also airbrushed and kind of customized the Nike swoosh on it a little bit, so it's an orange color. So it fits their branding and their label. And we did a short run. We did 16, 17 pairs, and there's a lot of people out there mad because they didn't get some.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to come and DM you guys at some point.
Absolutely.
You guys have an awesome studio. It's in the Crossroads. Your office, man, you put a lot of time and effort into that place.
I did. It's part of who we are. I always say that when you come to our studio, you see us, you see the space, you know exactly who we are. And that's what we really wanted to achieve with the space, is have a creative space that people can see what we're all about. And if you get us, then we'll get the work. And if you don't get us, then maybe we're not for you. So that's kind of how we're developing our brand right now.
Mm-hmm. What's going on with the project in Truce? That's been all over the news, man. You came on this radio show, podcast, YouTube page or show. We collaborated. Next thing I know, you're in every single publication about transforming Truce with Truce Village.
Well, you started it, right? So
thank you for letting people know about that first on the show.
Absolutely. It's a great project. It's exciting. It's transformative. It's underway. We're still curing the buildings. We're about 90% done with curing the buildings, or basically getting all of the bones of the building preserved to a point where we can then move forward with some of the new construction. We're continuing to work on some of the new pieces of the project, such as the housing, the event space, the green space, outdoor space, the food hall, the grocery store. So it's exciting. We've got a lot of momentum behind us. We're meeting with the city on a pretty regular basis to get things moving. We're getting permits, so it's a good time.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit more about our guest that's coming up today, and we'll get into it with him in a second. But we're talking to WyCo Vintage, and WyCo Vintage and their CEO. I didn't know this, but they're the world's largest and most trusted seller of authentic vintage T-shirts. They've had over 15,000 pieces from their collection have been worn by celebrities, rock stars, fans, collectors, fashionistas, people of good taste like yourself. That's pretty incredible, man. And what did you do with him, and how did you connect with him?
So I first met Pat and Adam. We were at a restaurant, and a friend introduced us. And it was somebody that, this friend was like, "You've got to meet this guy. I think you guys get along great." I would always show up and be wearing certain things. I love Supreme New York. So I think the day that it was set up for us to meet, I was wearing a zebra print Supreme zip up jacket. And then he walks in and he's wearing a vintage t-shirt with, I think he was wearing a Supreme jacket that day as well. And so, it just, once we started talking, we sat down at the bar and just started talking. And then he was talking about this new project that he wanted to do, which was the new boutique shop on Broadway. And we just started brainstorming, coming up with ideas and thoughts. And I think we immediately had a connection, when we really started talking about what he wanted to do, kind of what I was thinking about. And the rest is history. I mean, because we text and chat and stop by, no less than once a week. So
that could get kind of expensive for you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, think about it. I always say this about Pat and the whole WyCo Vintage crew is they're the people that have the things that are impossible to get. And I hadn't found that before anywhere else in the city, where the things that you really want as far as vintage, collectibles, hype gear, there's no other place that anybody should be thinking about going, really, because they've got, everything. So all of what I call the impossible cops, the things that you just can't go get, you just can't go pull off the shelf. Well, at WyCo, you probably can. And if they don't have it on the shelf, they can get it for you. And that's kind of what I like about the relationship we have with them, is we've been able to get so many things that I've seen and I wanted, and they made it happen.
WyCoVintage.com is the website. Patrick will be joining us here in a second. Thank you for listening again to the Grill Nation show on KMBZ 980 AM or on podcast or at our website, grillnationshow.com. You can connect with me all over the internet at Jason Grill on Twitter, at Grill Nation Show. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, at Jason Grill. I want to thank those who have been listening and sharing recently. We had tens of thousands of views a few weeks ago of a LinkedIn post, and people are really kind of engaging with our guests, which is kind of the goal of the show, is to connect you to, leaders and CEOs and thought leaders in their industries. And so we're going to come back. I really appreciate Jonathan Cole. He's the owner at Pendulum. Their website, again, is pendulumkc.com, an incredible architecture firm and design firm here in Kansas City, but they do projects literally all over the country. Tons of really cool sporting projects that we'll talk about at some point down the road, but also they collaborate with groups like WyCo Vintage, corporations, municipal civic entities, education institutions, non-for-profits. They do it all. And so check out their website, pendulumkc.com. They've put together some really cool mock-ups as well on that website. You're listening to the Grill Nation show. We will be right back. Thanks for joining us today on Grill Nation. Okay, so we're taping our break. We're still live, Jonathan, on social.
Okay.
Kind of a peek behind the curtains for those that are watching us, and
that's cool.
We can talk more about stuff we didn't get to talk to on the segment. Patrick, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, Jason? What's up, Jonathan?
Hey.
Now, Patrick, make sure I pronounce your last name correctly. How do I say it?
Klima.
Klima, okay.
Yep.
We're saving our first segment, and then we're going to shoot right back after the break here, and then and we'll go from there. But I appreciate you coming on, Patrick, and obviously Jonathan for connecting us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
I feel like I need to stop by your store here. Man, I just looking at your basketball jerseys was cool.
Yeah. We kind of started building out that part of the collection in the last year and a half or so. Our sports selection is a little lighter than it probably should be, but it's something we're trying to build out. Most of our stuff, as you can tell, is a lot of music stuff, but we've definitely tried to step it up in terms of jerseys and stuff like that.
I love it. I love the old Charlotte's jersey.
Yeah, those are actually really popular. The rapper DaBaby, he's from Charlotte, and he always wears Charlotte Hornets jerseys. Like Muggsy Bogues or Larry Johnson stuff, and I feel like
good old days when I was a kid. Okay, we're ready to rock here. I'm going to bring us back here after the break, and this will be a longer segment, 11 minutes and 40 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to the Grill Nation Show. I'm your host, Jason Grill. I appreciate you listening today on radio on 980 AM, or if you're joining us on podcasts, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher, we're on Google Podcasts, we're everywhere. And if you're watching us on my live stream on social media, thank you for watching us at this special time today at 3 o'clock. Where also you can watch all of our old shows on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe, and we'll post that all over social media as well. I'm joined again today by Jonathan Cole, who is the owner of Pendulum. Their website is pendulumkc.com. And our guest today is Patrick Klima, who is the founder and CEO of WyCo Vintage. Their website is WyCoVintage.com. They have the world's largest assortment of vintage T-shirts and goods there is, and it's based in Kansas City in Midtown. Welcome back to the show, Jonathan, and welcome, Patrick.
How's it going?
First off, Patrick, just kind of tell us about your journey, man. How did you get into this? What made you decide to become an entrepreneur and start this company?
Well, so I've always kind of been a collector of things ever since I was a little kid, whether it was like baseball cards and then it was like Magic the Gathering. So I've always kind of been into collecting things. But in the early 2000s, I was working a desk job at Freight Quote. And I was sitting there just hopping on eBay looking for shirts of things that I had when I was younger. If you remember TNC Surf Designs. They had like a Nintendo game and stuff when I was younger, but their shirts were really cool and they were kind of funny. It was like stuff like that, shirts that were funny, band shirts, and started just daily looking for shirts, started seeing things that I wasn't looking for that all of a sudden I started putting on my list of things to look for, whether I could find it in a size or condition I liked. And vintage shirts, they're a little different than normal clothing. The sizing is not the same as modern sizing. So I ended up with a bunch of stuff that wasn't fitting me. And so I had to decide to do something with these shirts that didn't fit. So started selling the shirts and then realizing in the process of all of this that I could start buying shirts and selling them and, kind of leveling up a little bit and buying more expensive shirts that maybe I wouldn't have bought normally without, making a little come up off the other shirts. And then it just kind of got out of control.
When did you get your first, when did you get the idea again to actually start the business? How long ago?
The business was actually started in 2008, but we were kind of flipping stuff on eBay a little bit before that, but it was mostly like, just kind of on a small basis. In 2008 though, that's when we really said, okay, this can kind of be a brand, and we can start doing this. And so we started listing everything on eBay because at the time that was the way to sell stuff. There weren't all these other platforms and apps, and social media really wasn't a thing either. And so that, kind of started things for us with eBay. But, from there we got a website and got on other platforms.
And and Jonathan, chime in here too. We talked a little bit about this on the first segment, but you guys got connected. When did that happen? What year and the journey of the business?
End of 2017.
Okay.
Probably. I think it was like November. It was in the fall because we were wearing jackets at the time. So
that's right.
And if you look at, actually, we could find out by Jonathan's Supreme jacket he was wearing because you could find out what season that jacket was, and we would know when that happened. So
yeah.
So you guys definitely hit it off because you're both stylish gents. But then, when did you kind of decide to start working together, and how did that really kind of happen? Why don't you start off, Patrick, and then Jonathan after that?
We started just hanging out and talking a lot about the things that that we liked, and a lot of things that weren't available in the city. The store that we have now, our retail store, we have a lot of stuff that in the past in Kansas City wouldn't be something you could just go someplace and buy. There are a lot of really limited items, and you're kind of limited to just buying stuff on the internet. And some people are intimidated by that, especially when you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on clothing. You kind of want to go someplace where you can see it in person, know that you're buying it from someplace that you just feel comfortable, instead of just this shadow on the internet that says, I've got this, here's your money. And so, we talked about
Patrick, I've bought many vintage Chiefs or Mizzou or Royals gear that looks like it'll fit me when I see it on eBay, and then I get it. And a medium or a small in 1975 is a lot different than a medium or small in 2021.
Absolutely. I'm kind of taller, and so that was like my struggle early on with the vintage shirts is if you're taller, I mean, just like the early vintage tees, most of them were 100% cotton. They'd been washed and put in the dryer, and so like the size on them, and people in the 70s, I think, and 80s were size. They were just a different size then,
Yeah, Jonathan, kind of what did I know you're into all of this, but once you guys met, you knew you could help him, right? And help this company.
Well, I knew I could help them, but to me, I think our strength is collaboration, and everybody's not open to collaboration. Sometimes people just want you to do dumb architecture. It's like, just do your job. And I think what I got from the whole WyCo Vintage crew is that, one, they're professionals. They know exactly what they're doing, and there's a science to it. It's not just you're bumping around and, in night and getting this stuff done. And that's the thing I appreciate about them is their whole squad has their finger on the pulse of, what things are. I look at the marketplace right now it's not really just about shopping. In my opinion, it's like the new stock market. Things increase and decrease in value over time. So you really have to know how to ride that wave. And I think they've mastered it. And I think that's the important piece in our relationship is, I can call Pat and say, hey man, what do you think about this? And he'd be like, no, don't do it. Or it's going to dip a little bit. I mean, this guy is like a walking algorithm when it comes to this stuff. So, there's a knowledge base there that I think, like you said, you don't want to spend a bunch of money on something and then you realize it's a fake or it's not legit or it's just not right for you or you're overspending. I think, again, these guys have their finger on the pulse.
Yeah, and you built quite an impressive e-commerce site, Patrick.
Yeah, so, like I said earlier, when we started out, eBay was basically the only way resellers could do stuff. I mean, you could build a website, but, you remember what early websites were like on e-commerce. They were ugly. They were hard to get around, and the people who were running them really didn't know what they were doing either. So what you were interacting with wasn't that great. But we learned a lot over the years with, just as buying shirts and selling shirts from both ends, learning what makes it easy to actually go about and trying to buy shirts. And so we built this website and we brought on Adam Campo. That was in 2015, I believe. And we had kind of a shell of a website at that time. But when we brought him on, he really started doing like the SEO thing. And we kind of built a regimen, and we started doing weekly drops. And what we did was we kind of just made this a regimen. I mean, it's like every week we're doing these drops. We've got our way of doing things from the way we do our photos, our listing titles. Everything we do is really thought out. And we think, in the long term, because we're documenting history, like no matter what, even if none of our shirts ever sell, you could say we've documented more t-shirts in a way that, nobody else has done. And the one other thing, what I was getting at is the way that we present the items. You can go on our website and search by your measurements and go through our inventory and only see stuff that fits you. We got about 5,000 items, but there's probably about 400 that would actually fit you on there. But we have a method. If you go on our site, there's a section that says the perfect fit, and it explains very simply how you measure your shirt. And then you just click the categories that, you hit your pit to pit measurement, collar to hem, and then boom, it shows you what will fit. Because, I mean, you could surf through our site forever, but we want you to find stuff that'll work for you,
I love it. I mean, this website is awesome. WyCoVintage.com, if you're listening. It's WYCO Vintage.com. I mean, I went through it and I just got very nostalgic and just so many cool items. I mean, I've been kind of becoming a sneaker guy, I guess, Jonathan. I've gotten a lot of the Nike golf shoes are getting cool now. They're going back to the Air Max. I've got
right.
The Blazers. I've got the Air Jordan 1s. I mean, I've got some, but the T-shirt game, I mean, everyone is kind of into like kind of not what you're doing, like the opposite. Like I saw a Royals 1985 World Championship T-shirt, but hey, I'm going to recreate it as a new one. You're selling like the actual product that they sold at the parade or that they had at MLB.com, like back then. I mean, these were like actual products. That's kind of the difference.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. They've kind of got some spirit to them, and I mean, like you think about like a 1977 Led Zeppelin tour shirt that was purchased there inside of the venue, I mean, there's something inside of that shirt that, connects somebody to that time, that period in time. And every day too, we always say like with music, there's always kids for the first time experiencing, hearing Prince for the first time and, and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And then, they want to connect to that. And how do you connect to something like that? You can, of course, go buy a record. You can buy a poster and put it on your wall, but like shirts, there's something you can actually wear, show people. So it kind of has a different level to it than your typical nostalgic, collectible, sentimental piece. Being able to wear something really gives the person that, a chance at expression, and that's why I think the shirts are really, really cool.
Yeah, they are. Jonathan and Patrick, when we get back, I want to talk to you about kind of some of your favorite items. Maybe Jonathan will have a few that he can talk about, and then Patrick, some of the ones that you've obtained that maybe were some of your highest sellers or that were your favorites. And then I'd like to learn more about kind of how you get all these T-shirts. I mean, you said you had over 5,000 shirts, jerseys, shoes, whatever you want to say, in your store. I mean, just getting all of these gear, buying them, having the capital to do it, and then reselling them. I mean, and finding them, I feel like has to be a lot of work, and just making sure they're all legit. So we'll talk about that. Then I want to talk about kind of how the move from Midtown or to Midtown from Marion has helped you. And we'll get more into that with these two gentlemen. Jonathan Cole, owner of Pendulum, and Patrick Klima from WyCo Vintage. Thanks for listening to the Grill Nation Show. We'll be right back. Okay, guys.
Good segment.
Yeah. I'm geeked up, man. I want to go through your website as you're talking.
Yeah, just get your measurements. Go to the perfect fit part and get your measurements, and then it'll get you right into a section of the stuff that works for you. And then it'll be easier to navigate, because it's easy to get lost when you start clicking and you're like, hey, that's too big, that's too small. And that's why we had to put the measurements. Nobody else even, I mean, I don't know any other clothing stores, retailer, anybody who does that puts measurements on, like that, besides like your standard 42 by 44 law, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. Some of these old NBA jerseys you have are just, I mean, I just miss that kind of look and feel to the vintage jerseys. And I didn't know until a few weeks ago that NBA logos had to have a basketball in them. It's like a requirement of the NBA. So every NBA logo, that you see on Yahoo or
that makes sense now that you're saying it.
They all have to have some sort of a basketball. The Milwaukee Bucks, I guess, has a basketball. It's not really a basketball, but in the antlers now. I mean, it's just it's crazy. Okay,
I've never known that. That's great.
We will we'll get going here in a second. And same thing. 11 minutes and 40 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome back to the Grill Nation Show with Jason Grill here on KMBZ 980 AM or on podcasts or on our website, grillnationshow.com. Fascinating show so far with our great guest and collaborator, Jonathan Cole from Pendulum, pendulumkc.com, a great architecture and design firm here in the region, but they do work all over the country. They come on the show once a quarter and connect us with great guests like WyCo Vintage, Patrick Klima, who's the CEO of WyCo Vintage. Their website is wycovintage.com. We were talking about kind of the background and how you got into this, but I'm kind of interested to know, how do you get these incredible vintage items? I mean, you said you had over 5,000. You're the world's most trusted and authenticated source here. I mean, how many a day do you get? I mean, just take us through that process. I think it's really interesting.
So most of them are acquired on a piece-by-piece basis. I started out just buying primarily online, just connecting with other people selling, whether they were the original owner. But as we've done this over time and developed the website, if you go online right now and try to look up a vintage shirt, no matter what that shirt is, you're probably in the top 10 links, you're going to get a result to WyCoVintage.com. And so because we have that kind of exposure, most people instantly gravitate to our site. And then there's a section that says sell your shirts. And we've made it really easy for you to submit some photos through our website if you've got stuff for sale. Now, over the years, we've had some really good publicity. You know, we had a Wall Street Journal article. We had a New York Times article. We did an NPR marketplace interview. And every time those things happen, we got tons of interest. And after the NPR one, we had a guy that was a former merchandising manager for Guns N' Roses, Rolling Stones, and Prince in the late 80s, early 90s reach out to us and sell us his entire collection. And so, like, when you get that kind of exposure, it's like now today we have more people contacting us frequently, where in the past it was always me reaching out. And today my inbox, it fills up with people nonstop. Just, hey, I've got this, I found this. And it's kind of wild, really, because it's exciting. I'm always excited to see stuff I've never seen. And it happens still to this day.
What was your favorite WyCo Vintage item that you have ever obtained? And Jonathan, what's the favorite one you purchased?
You know what? It's interesting that you asked that question, because with Pat, it's like the fit is what's most important. And the funny thing is, he can always say, you know, here's the perfect fit for you. So I purchased a vintage Beatles tee that I thought was really cool. It's got some pink and blue overtones, so it goes great with my pink Levi trucker jacket.
Wow, I got to see that.
Yeah.
What about you, Patrick? I mean, you don't have to nail her down to just one, but like, what was that one item that you got, or two items, or three maybe, that you're like wow.
It's, you know, it is kind of tough, because there's some pieces that are in the collection that I can't wear. They're too small. And then there's other pieces that are in my closet that I actually wear. But of the wearable pieces,
he froze up.
This Alice Cooper Greatest Hits shirt. It's from 1970. I don't know where I cut out, but I was saying there's an Alice Cooper shirt in my personal collection, and it's from his Greatest Hits in like 74, which kind of sounds funny, 74 Greatest Hits. But the shirt has like a gun holster printed on the shirt, and it looks like there's a revolver on the shirt. It's like such a cool shirt. So rare, so hard to find. That's one of my favorite all-time pieces. But we have a couple pieces in the collection that were actually two T-shirts. They were on the Leonard Skinner plane crash, and they were personal belongings of one of the survivors, Donnie Kretschmar. We had bought a significant portion of his collection from his daughter, and two of the shirts that were in that collection were actually on the Leonard Skinner plane crash.
Wow. And were you always into the music side, or when did you expand into other stuff? I mean, you obviously started with vintage concert and music, but now you have sports and shoes and everything else.
You know, I've always kind of said sex, drugs, rock and roll is kind of the thing, but then you've got, like, you know, pop culture in general, TV shows, movies. Those have really become popular as of late. I feel like just anything that really connects people to that point in their childhood where, you know, where things were important, you know, about 10 years old to, 16, the things that happen in that frame, those are things that really stick with people. And so most of these things that become popular, subject matter wise, it's about 20 years after that, where those people, when they were that age, now have a little bit of extra expendable income, and they're kind of connecting to their childhood memories and things that make them, think of the past. It's kind of happy thoughts stuff, right?
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about, we're with Jonathan Cole, owner of Pendulum, great architecture and design firm here in Kansas City, and Patrick Klima from WyCo Vintage, the CEO and founder. You moved from Merriam, Kansas to Midtown, to this new store on Broadway. I guess new to me, but you've been there for what, a few years now?
Yeah, the store actually opened October 13th, 2018. We were in Merriam. And so, like, before Merriam, we were actually just over on Main at right across from Aura, right over there. I can't even remember the address, but we had a spot over there. and the building sold. And so at the time it was more of a studio space. We weren't doing any kind of in-store retail stuff. It was more just doing our online business. And then we were kind of doing these little events on First Fridays and stuff, but the building sold. So we got this spot in Merriam. It was kind of just the best bang for our buck at the time. And we weren't planning on doing retail ever. That was never really a part of what we wanted to do. We liked the online thing. It was just kind of easy for us, and, you know, didn't have to go to work every day and and be there and be present in that same manner. But no, so we, you know, we kind of started thinking about it. Those things went on, and then I linked up with Jonathan, and it was like, as soon as we started talking and the market just like started just like saying, hey, do this, because there was this huge glaring hole. There's no sneaker stores like this in Kansas City. And we wanted to do something different, something cool, and something really nice. And so it was just really easy for us to come together to do that. It was just as easy as it could be.
Let's talk about that. What does the store look like, and kind of the process that you went through?
You know, the store is all white. It's white on white on white with a few accents, and then their logo, which is the anarchy symbol.
Yeah, I've seen that T-shirt on some celebrities. Actually, your WyCo Vintage logo is on T-shirts on
right
celebrities, so they're wearing your gear too.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Sometimes you just like get a message on Instagram like, hey, did you see, you know, like Pauly Shore, he on one of his YouTube videos that he does, he was just wearing one of our shirts, and we had no idea, you know, but somebody sent us a video clip of it, and it's like awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And so, Jonathan, you have it. It's all white. I'm looking at a picture. You can see a picture if you've never been on their website, WyCoVintage.com. Everything is very organized. I'll tell you that. As soon as I saw it, I was like, wow, this is one organized, very clean-looking store.
I think that was the goal, was super clean. I think that's the first thing that Pat and I talked about, was just want it to be simple, clean, and different, you know, different than anything that I think anybody has seen in Kansas City so far. And then especially with, you know, what, like one of my mentors said, location, location, location. I mean, I think Pat and I talked about a number of locations before this became the spot. But just the foot traffic alone, when you stand there and see people come by, it's an eye catcher. And I think it draws people in. And then, you know, we just kept it simple. Very flexible. We custom made. That's the funny thing, is we designed it, but we also worked with some of our key collaborators like Pascal Maya, who does the welding, and Dale Frommelt, who helped us, you know, kind of configure and fabricate everything. We really kind of MacGyvered that thing and put it together, and you know, put everything together. I think 14 days, Pat?
I think it was actually 13.
He knows exactly.
Yeah, I should remember, because man, my back is still killing me from.
So you guys are on 3535 Broadway Boulevard in Kansas City, Missouri. So, you know, right in the heart of Midtown. You know, where all the action and development is now. I can't wait to stop in and see that once I get through the website. I'll probably know the ones. I got to get measured first, right, Patrick? So then I'll be ready.
Yeah, get your measurements.
You also have hats. I'm seeing you have shoes. You have obviously T-shirts. You have some posters. You have jackets. You had all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's two websites. So what we did, just to like kind of keep it simple for our customers that were into the vintage stuff, there's WyCoVintage.com, but then the store for our store is WyCoVintageBroadway.com. So that's going to be all of our sneakers, all of our streetwear, all of the stuff. When you walk in the front door in our retail store, everything that's in there is on our website. And so it's, you know, it's really cool because it's shoppable like that. A lot of other stores like ours they don't have that capability. I mean, they have the capability, they just don't go that effort to present their items like that. And I mean, that's really like, you know, our our pride and joy is we love to, like you mentioned, the organization. We want to provide the best shopping experience and customer service we can, because we know we can help you find something that you're going to love. We just got to find out a couple things, and we can get you right narrowed down to what works for you.
WyCoVintage.com has got everything, like the whole 9 yards, every vintage, all 5,000, and WyCoVintageBroadway.com is where I can go to see what you actually have on your storefront and retail. Is that right?
Yeah. So that's going to be all the Broadway site that's where all of our sneakers and streetwear, the Supreme, the Off-White, the Bape, that kind of stuff. That's all going to be on that site. And so we've kind of got them separated like that because it's nice for a few different reasons. But we had to kind of keep them separate for our vintage fans because we didn't want to overwhelm them with stuff that they might not be interested in.
I love it. Jonathan Cole, Patrick Klima are my guests. The WyCo Vintage and Pendulum Studio will be right back with more of the Grill Nation show. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, so we'll tape that. There's so many things we could talk about. I mean, I've got a bunch of questions pinged up, but it's real interesting. I don't think this vintage trend is going away, Patrick. I think you found a good niche.
Yeah, well, and it just keeps going. I mean, because anything 20 years old, that's where vintage is. So, next year there's a slew of new things that are going to be, vintage and that enter into that realm. And once they do, they kind of become classics, I guess. That's kind of what happens. It's like it becomes a legit classic at that point. And once it does, like right now, I'm wearing an X-Men shirt today. And these comic book shirts, when I first got into it, the value on them was people weren't really interested too much in 90s shirts. It was all about 70s and 80s stuff. Right now, though, these are some of the hottest shirts. People like the comic book stuff is it's kind of annoying how ridiculous people think these comic book shirts are worth, that they made way more than, a crew shirt from a Led Zeppelin tour from 72. Just these kids that were going crazy over this stuff. It's wild.
I love it. Well, we'll get going here for our final segment. And 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Grill Nation show. I'm Jason Grill. Thanks for listening on 980 AM via radio on all the podcast networks out there if you're joining on podcast or on our website, grillnationshow.com. We're also on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, Grill Nation with Jason Grill. And obviously, you can connect with me on social media as well, at Jason Grill and at Grill Nation Show on Twitter. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on Instagram. We're joined again today by Jonathan Cole, who's the owner of Pendulum, great architectural firm and design company here in Kansas City, and Patrick Klima, who is the CEO of WyCo Vintage. They're on Broadway, the retail store. They're also online at WyCoVintage.com and at WyCoVintageBroadway.com. We have been having a lot of fun. I've been excited to have this show for quite a while. It takes me down memory lane. Man, I wish I would have saved some of my concert T-shirts from the 90s. I'm sure they're somewhere at my folks' house, but I don't know where because I'd be bringing them down to your store. I did go see Milli Vanilli. That was the first concert I ever saw in real life. Milli Vanilli at Starlight Theater. Let me ask you this, Jonathan. What is kind of the one T-shirt or product that you really would like to have that you don't have? Is there one?
Vintage Michael Jordan shirt that actually fits me. I think Pat has a few, but none that fit me.
That's a tough one. Those are
jersey?
No, not the jersey. Just if you watched what was the documentary that they had? The last, yeah, and there was a few T-shirts that came out, and I was immediately texting Pat like, "Yo, do you have this? Do you have this?" He's like, "I had one, but not anymore."
There's the original with the original the Jumpman logo or the Wings logo, and then you got the jacket. I recently got a jacket, and I'm lucky it fits. But most of them are really small. Like the shirts, they're all really small.
Oh yeah, they're all very small. You're right. All the other ones are not being sold. People are holding on to those. Patrick, what item has sold for the most? You don't have to tell us the number, but I'm curious of what was the highest priced item that you ever sold?
We've had a couple Led Zeppelin tour jackets sell between like $5,000 and $7,000. I mean, that's kind of the upper echelon. But I don't know, it's probably 6 or 7 months ago, I actually lost a bid. I bid $20,000 on a Bill Wyman. It was owned by Bill Wyman of the Rolling Stones. A really rare goat's head soup Ritva Man sweater. I know it's a mouthful and most people are like, what? But it's this really cool sweater that was made in very limited quantities. And this one was owned by a member of the Rolling Stones. And I bid $20,000 and somebody outbid me. And there's a 20% buyer's premium on that. So, I mean, these things can get really, really crazy. Some of these pieces, I mean, they're.
Yeah, right. I can't imagine. My producer says he loves that T-shirt. He would love that product. So, 20 grand is
incredible.
a lot, man. What an incredible number.
It was a rush hitting the button, man. I mean, it was quite the rush, but I had to stop. Like I was like, I can't go any further. I wanted to, but I had to stop.
Yeah, that was smart. What was your what some of the best business advice or lessons you've learned since you started this, with all the changes in technology and the people really kind of getting into more of this memorabilia vintage kind of world in the last few years? I mean, are there any things that you've learned maybe that have really impacted you and helped your growth?
I think the best thing really like for me and what we've done is just to continue doing what we're doing. Like we've been working hard doing what we're doing for a long time now, but like I'd say in the last few years have really started seeing a lot of success, but it was stuff we were doing years ago and kind of laying the foundation to what we're seeing today. And a lot of that's like with the website. And when I mentioned earlier, when you look up Google search results, we come up in the top in pretty much any vintage t-shirt search, which that's a really big deal. People pay tons of money for that. We're just there, and even ahead of a lot of companies that are, these huge companies. But all of that stems from us doing what we've been doing with doing our weekly drops and just trying to do the best at what we're doing and trying to provide the best version of what we're doing. That's just what we strive for and what we want to do every time we do a drop on our site, or if it's in our store and a customer comes in, we just, we really want to make people, know how much we care, because we love this stuff. This stuff means the world to us. This is our life, and, it's our world, and we love when other people are a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan, you're a guy that's been to many different stadiums, events, fashion. I mean, you're a fashion guy here in Kansas City, and kind of you kind of are connected in a lot of different places. What might be that favorite sporting event or concert maybe that you ever attended?
So I've got two. For a concert, Pier 39, probably 98. San Francisco, Empty Warehouse, George Clinton and the P-Funk All-Stars. It was insanity. I think there was a full moon that night too. So that's the concert. Sports, the Royals playoffs to World Series run in 2015. I had tickets to every home game from start to finish. Just electric. That was kind of the favorite thing. And then directly behind that, I did the Lakers playoff series in Oklahoma City, and that was bananas.
Was it? I've never been to a game down there, but of course that would have been awesome. What about you, Patrick?
Favorite sporting event was probably, the Chiefs game to go to the Super Bowl was great. The Royals ALCS the year. I was there in Game 7 when the Royals lost the World Series, so that was so terrible. But to be there for the ALCS win when they got that was, obviously just epic. There was the Cinco de Mayo Royals game, though, I will talk about in like 2007 or 8. I started a Ken Harvey chant. It might have been before that. But I started a Ken Harvey chant, and I don't know, that was pretty epic because the ending of that game, the no more error in the ninth. It was amazing. It was so amazing. And then concert wise, that's so tough because really most of what you see and what we do here, a lot of it was done in love to make money to go to shows, traveling to concerts. That's what I do a lot of. And that's really my favorite thing to do. So to say favorite show, it's just so hard. But maybe I saw Muse at Reading Festival do Origins of Symmetry 10-year anniversary. That was really cool. I got to see ELO at the Hollywood Bowl a couple of years ago, which was pretty amazing. I don't know. Music concerts they're all so different. It's so hard to pick, but I absolutely love going to shows.
If you had to wear one T-shirt out of your collection, what would it be?
If I had to do what?
You had to pick one T-shirt out of your collection. If you're going to like some place where you want to impress someone and you were like, this is the coolest thing I own, what would it be?
My go-to in that is probably the 77 Zeppelin Day on the Green shirt. It fits me really well for a 70s shirt.
You're all about Patrick, I love that. You're all about the
yeah. Well, it matters. It's so important, man. It's so important. But no, that shirt is it's a really good one. It's iconic, and it was some of the last shows that Zeppelin did in the U.S. And so it's a really special shirt. But it's also like one of the first shirts that was really cool that I found that actually did fit me, because like I said, it was hard, and it still is. There's so many shirts that I've had but that have not fit me that I wish had fit me, there's so many. You would think I would personally have thousands of shirt in my closet, but that's not the case, because they don't fit that well. So I have to search for them,
Yeah. Hey, Jonathan, I got one more for you. Favorite sneaker or jersey of all time? I know you mentioned Michael Jordan, but what is your favorite sneaker? Because I know you're a sneaker guy.
That I don't own, Off-White Jordan 1 in the white and red colorway. That I own, Union LA Jordan 3 Retro Guava Ice. It's in my dead stock. I'll probably never wear it, but this is something that I talked to Pat a lot about, and he's like, you got to buy it. So I did.
Nice. That's tough, though, when you can't wear them. But you can look at them. They're there for you, right?
They're on display in the office.
What was the one you said before that? What Jordan was that?
The Off-White Jordan 1 in the white and red colorway.
Okay.
The Chicago.
Yeah, that one is – it's up there. I think, Pat, you have one, though, right?
No, I don't have that. I got the trophy rim, the one that was recently talked about a lot in the media that Michael Jordan's son had sold kind of under the radar. We got a pair of those in, and that's kind of a grail, one of the grail pieces.
For sure.
Well, guys, this has been a great show. I urge everyone to connect with Jonathan Cole at Pendulum, pendulumkc.com. It's an awesome company here. We're so lucky to have them in Kansas City, doing fine work all over the country. Collaborated with Patrick Klima and WyCo Vintage. Their website is wycovintage.com. They're on Broadway in Kansas City on 3553 Broadway. Did I say that right from memory?
35.
Yeah, you're on Broadway. WyCoVintage.com
35.
WyCoVintageBroadway.com 3535 Broadway. We'll fix that in editing. Appreciate you guys joining the show today, and thank you to everyone for watching and listening to the Grill Nation show. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks a lot.
Sorry, Patrick. Hey, I had to cut you off there. We were way over on the timing on that on the radio.
We didn't talk about the new store. Duh. Yeah.
I didn't have that in my notes. Is there a new store?
Is there a new store?
I'm going to let Pat talk about that.
Yeah, we got a new store. Next door. We're opening a new store. We got a new store going, yeah.
Okay, we can talk about that on the video, and then if you want to tape like a couple minutes,
sure.
Darren who's the producer on the show, is still on here. Potentially, maybe we can cut something out and add that in if you'd like. Let's do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Darren, I know you're not on broadcast right now, but we're going to tape another segment. Stand by, he says. People are loving the show. I'm getting another comments, and people can't wait to check out this website. Okay, so he's giving me a standby. He said, okay, we're going to tape just like a 2-minute segment, again, that we might be able to throw in on the new store.
Awesome.
Okay?
All right, bet. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question. Hey, Patrick, you are opening a new store I've heard about. Can you tell us more about it? Curious to know where it's at and what this process entails.
Yeah, so our current spot, we kind of outgrown that, and started talking to Jonathan a while back because we knew this was going to be happening sooner or later, and we finally decided we got the spot, and it's actually next door to our current location. So we're going to be doubling the size of our current store, and then in the spot of our old store, we're going to be opening another store that's going to be just used sneakers and used streetwear. And so we're going to have two stores side by side. And then the new store is going to be a very upscale version of our current store with a much higher end look and finish to it. And we're pretty excited about it.
That is awesome. And Jonathan, you're obviously along for the ride on this process.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's talk about leveling up. I mean, these guys just don't stop. And when you see the finished product, it's like the first store to me was super cool and innovative. This is about to go ape.
Nice.
I'll just put it that way.
What is our timeline on this? What is our timeline on this, guys?
Well, like anything, it's with Pat and the gang, it's he's like, I want this done in a month. So I'm like, okay, let's ride. Let's do it.
We're hoping beginning of June. We should be able to get this done by.
Yeah, hopefully I can. I won't lift any boxes. No, I can help out with that if Jonathan wants me to. But let me know on that so I can check it out. Well, I appreciate you guys. We'll just tape that. We'll tape that and then maybe just plug that in with our producer at one of the first or second segment where you cut out a question and add that. That's awesome. That's big news. I also want to do our sneak peek segment. So why don't we do that? Why don't I just tape a sneak peek segment about the new store?
Okay.
Does that work for you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is 2 minutes. I'm going to introduce you guys. We'll be using this on social media. Okay. Let me put up your websites here. I'm going to end up spending too much money at one of these stores, I have a feeling. Okay.
That's a good problem to
have. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, it's Jason Grill, host of the Grill Nation show. We're here for our one question sneak peek. We have Jonathan Cole, the owner of Pendulum, and Patrick Klima, who's the CEO of WyCo Vintage. I'm going to put up their websites here on the screen. You guys, Patrick, are working with Jonathan and Pendulum to open up a new store. Tell us about kind of the new store and kind of what the process is and what you're envisioning here as you continue to grow WyCo Vintage. We'll start with Patrick.
So our current shop, we've just kind of outgrown it, and Jonathan and I had been, speaking about this for a while now, knowing that this would happen, and kind of got to that point about a month ago and said, hey, let's go ahead and make this jump. And so we started planning it and spitting ideas back at each other, and now we're about a month away from bringing it to life.
Jonathan, you want to chime in there? Because this has been a really cool place.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the last place, all I can say is this next place is going to be three times that. So we're leveling up.
Leveling up. And WyCo Vintage is the world's largest and most trusted seller of authentic vintage T-shirts. They have over 15,000 pieces that have been worn by celebrities, rock stars, athletes, fashionistas. They have an awesome website, WyCoVintage.com. They're also at WyCoVintageBroadway.com. And they have this retail store here on Broadway in Kansas City. Patrick, again, share that address with us.
It's 3535 Broadway Boulevard.
We are going to talk all about that on this week's Grill Nation show. We're going to talk about how we got into this, how Jonathan and Pendulum have helped them with PendulumKC.com and their studio on their architectural and design side, some of their most famous items, some of the coolest business stories that Patrick has, some of these crazy vintage items that they've obtained over the years and how they've sold them, and just really kind of dive deeper into the process of WyCo Vintage. I'm excited. I'm going to learn so much. There's so many items that I want that I've already looked at on the website. It's going to be a great show. We all are nostalgic about vintage items, and WyCo Vintage here in Kansas City has the best in the world essentially around that are authenticated and vintage. So we're going to come back and have a great show this week. Thanks again to Jonathan Cole and Patrick Klima for joining me on this one question sneak peek.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks.
Okay. Let me end the broadcast here, everyone.